Hello and welcome. So Doctor Who always has had a wide range of opinions and thoughts and feelings and opinions. It's always been something that's strong within the community. You either love an episode or you just goddamn hate that episode with a passion. But sometimes there's those episodes for some odd reason that just gets completely side-glanced by everyone, and it's episodes where I look at it and go, why is this not loved? And basically, yes, this is what this video is all about. It's very much the most underrated Doctor Who episodes, New Who, which I'm going to say right now, because classic, it's like, I might do that as an old thing. So this is simply on the New Who era of Doctor Who, and this isn't a top 10 or anything, or it's not worst to best. It's just simply episodes that I believe deserve a little bit more love, and episodes I generally quite love, and I don't get why they're not loved. And it's just overall my kind of feelings of the perception of the said episodes. So let's begin on the list of just my overall opinions and thoughts of just the most underrated episodes of Doctor Who. So the first one I want to talk about is Father's Day from Doctor Who Series 1, written by Paul Cornell, someone who I think should be writing more Doctor Who, and I don't particularly understand why he never did. He wrote this, and he wrote the Human Nature two-parter. That two-parter is a little bit more loved and received overall. Not that Father's Day isn't, in fact, if anything, probably out of my list of episodes I have here, it is probably the most loved out of it, but I think it deserves more, and I think it's been kind of glanced over the years for some odd reason. I don't particularly know why. First of all, I just want to say, just performance-wise, if you ever doubted Billie Piper, this is the episode that you're really going to change your mind with. I think she is generally really spectacular in this episode, and it's a shame that they don't focus on Billie Piper's acting more, and especially when it gets to Series 2, it just kind of delves into the more romance stuff, and they do bits and bobs of really showcasing what she has, but this episode I think it really showcases. She gives a lot more than I think, a lot actually was expecting when they announced the pop star was going to be, the lead in this role, the great example of stunt casting. And then she surprised everyone, and I think this story proves it very much so. I'm a sucker for the very much, and there's going to be episodes I'll talk about in this kind of video of the timey-wimey type episodes. I love it when writers will take the concept of the show and try and do something with it, and I think this one kind of feels like that. I also love Eccleston. I also love the 80s as well, so I like that it's set in there, but I also like how it's not in your face with the 80s. My issue nowadays with the whole concept of 80s nostalgia is it's so in your face because they know how much that era is loved. Well, this one, it feels very lived in, it feels very real, and a bar from Cars and only little chunks, a little bit of music, and obviously just overall look and costumes and all that. There's nothing too screaming in your face that this is set in the 80s, and I like that, and I'm perfectly fine with that, and I think overall looks great to me. I think the Reapers look great. I think the overall story, I love Peter Tyler's kind of arc that he has, and that moment where he realises that he's basically going to have to kill himself to let time revert back and all that is really generally great stuff. And I love how the camera is just on his face, and you slowly see him going from, scared to starting to realise, and then I have to do this. This is all on me, and it's I really like that scene, and I think it deserves more love. And the next one for me is The Time of Angels and The Flesh and Stone that we have here, written by Stephen Moffat. Here, his first two-parter, and his kind of era run that he has here. And the main conception of this two-parter straight off the bat is simply the Weeping Angels should never have returned. No, it should have just been Blink. They were great in Blink. I'm going to actually make an argument that I actually kind of prefer the Weeping Angels in this two-parter than I did in Blink. I love Blink. If anyone out there does that whole idea of, oh, I don't like Blink because, it's everyone loves it, I've been that guy. Blink is fantastic. But this two-parter, the Weeping Angels, just, they feel more of a presence a little bit more in terms of the threat and the feeling of like they're constantly there. I love more in the second part when the Doctor, River and Amy all that are running through the ship and stuff, and no matter what, the angels are still going to be there. There is a nice little kind of zombie kind of feeling to it. I love it. I love River Song coming back, and it was at this point where she felt more kind of part of the adventure, and I really quite enjoyed like the wee teases to her future. But River Song's an interesting character. I really love the character, but I also kind of preferred it when it was just like, just hard traveling about with the Doctor and Amy and stuff, and I. But I just think overall this two-parter gets a bit of kind of heat on just the overall concept of it's just simply not great because oh no, the Weeping Angels were better than Blink, which I don't particularly agree with, and I like that they establish more the idea of like any kind of form of statue can be like the kind of Weeping Angel sort of stuff, and I like they did that. I think it's generally scary at moments as well in this two-parter, and it's also for one who actually generally kind of prefers a two-parter. Annoyingly, they're not really that great a lot in New Who. They don't end well, I don't think. Well, I think this one is generally a good part 1 and part 2 here. The next one for me, The Rebel Flesh and The Almost People. For some odd reason, this two-parter has been completely overlooked, I think, for so many fans. The main kind of theme around this story, and why I do think political stuff does work in Doctor Who, because this two-parter is basically all about workers' rights, and I like how that's kind of done within this story, and I think that's how it should be done in Doctor Who. I think it like, you know, because when people moan about when Chibnall's era is so heavy on political stuff, and like, look, there's no lying, it is, but I think Doctor's been doing it for years. So go back to John Pertwee's era, and he was constantly arguing with the suits, and that was his Doctor. He was always like that. That was always just a thing. But I feel the best way in doing it is very much incorporated with the sci-fi element. When it's just literally just, you know, anything I can see on the news or anything I can see in a BBC drama that's so predictable. It's just do something. You have a great show. Do something with the concept, and I think it does it well here with Doctor Who. It's one I believe that deserves just a little bit more love. I think people find it kind of a little bit dull and a bit kind of thin, and I don't particularly believe that. I think there's really nice moments. I like the ideas of the kind of, you know, the two different, you know, the humans and the flesh, and who's real and who's not, and I think there's some really good stuff kind of there, and honestly, go back and watch it, and it's a two-parter I generally really thoroughly enjoy. Next one up is good old Mark Gatiss with Night Terrors. Mark Gatiss is probably one of the most loved of, I would say, in fandom, of just generally just loved, because people know how much he loves Doctor Who, but when it comes to his writing, a lot of people don't particularly love a lot of his writing. I'm not really in that camp. I'm kind of in the camp that's a bit kind of mixed. I'd say I do quite like a lot of his stuff. A lot of his stuff I find okay, but one I do think that needs a little bit more push of love is Night Terrors. It's scary. I love I'm kind of mixed sometimes with Doctor Who. I love the kind of, as it says with Father's Day, I like it when it's a big timey-wimey stuff, but then I like it when Night Terrors, it's set in a block of flat, it's so human and so small, and I quite like that sometimes when they do that. Also, the doll things are really quite creepy and scary, and I like the designs. And the child actor is really good as well, and I think the whole cast is great. I just love the setting of it. I think it's creepy. I think it feels like good old-fashioned Doctor Who, because I don't mean this in a bad way. It feels low budget, but I like that. And next up is Asylum of the Daleks, written by Steve Moffat, and this was his opening for Series 7. Jeez, that feels like years. Well, it is years ago. I'm getting old. But even when this episode came out, I feel like it was just hated off the bat for just some reason, because it was just the thing to do was just hate on Moffat's stuff. It feels like, even though he was actually bringing out pretty entertaining stuff. So just my kind of quick kind of like stuff in here. I generally think the Daleks are scary in this story. That's just number one for me for when it comes to Daleks. A lot of people just seem to want, especially modern Daleks, they just want Daleks just to shoot things, and that's what kind of Russell T Davies did. Bar from his really solid, which he didn't right, the Dalek episode back in Series 1. A Dalek actually felt quite scary in that story. After that, it was just Daleks flying about and shooting stuff and all that, and it's like, alright, cool, this could be any army right now, to be honest. It loses a little bit of kind of what makes them sort of thing. But Asylum of Daleks, it's the only time where, and I feel sorry for Moffat, he tried to do his new Daleks, everyone hated it, even though I really like his Daleks, to be honest. So he says, right, okay, to please everyone, I'll have basically every Dalek. And there's much as I don't think it worked when they did it in Capaldi's one, where it felt kind of weird that, I guess it was their home planet, I think it kind of worked well in the story for this one, because that was the whole point. I love the concept of this episode, that there's these insane Daleks that are even too much for just the regular Daleks, so they keep them all in this asylum, and I think that's a great idea. And it was nice little, I remember watching it, all the wee little Easter eggs and seeing different Daleks. I think all that stuff is really fun. I really like the scene with Rory when like one of the balls drop and he thinks like the Dalek is saying eggs, but then it's actually just exterminate really slowly. That scene is terrifying. I remember watching that for the first time. I was like, that's actually really, I feel like really proper old Moffat kind of like scary sort of stuff. I really enjoyed that. And of course, this was the first and introduction of my favourite Clara. And next up, Under the Lake and Before the Flood. This is a two-parter from Capaldi's era that I thoroughly enjoyed. I remember when it came out. It's an interesting two-parter because one of those ones where they don't feel almost the same. First part is very, it's set in that underwater base, which I do love a base. I do love an underwater base. We need more underwater bases in Doctor Who. And then the second part, it's set, well, it's still set in that underwater base, but set like in the kind of past. And it involves, I love it when it involves the time stuff. I really like that. And I really like the crew. I think it's a nice bunch of kind of crew members that they have. Well, I always love a good Doctor Who, especially a two-parter, when, they establish and they just let it breathe out the supporting characters, because I all think they're all pretty good, and kudos to them as well, having, I don't know if she was the first, she might have been, I think it was, I remember back then, they had like the first deaf character in Doctor Who, and she's great, because there's a really good scene where they kind of used that, where she naturally couldn't hear I think it was like an axe getting dragged behind her, and I remember watching that, I was like, this is actually really quite spooky, and I think I like when they incorporate sort of stuff and kind of use, those elements that they have to try and kind of think of something different and new that's not been kind of seen in the show. I think it's great. I think the monster, the Fisher King, he's great. Voice, was it a Slipknot singer, I think it was, who did the voice, which is kind of nuts. Might not be Slipknot, I can't remember now. I love the locations. I really like, and I forget his name now because it was Paul Kane that played it, but it was the same race that David Walliam played, and I wish there was more of him. I love his wee laugh that he does. He's fantastic. Capaldi's great. Clara's great. They're all, I think this is the top tier when we adventure, and I always love that kind of, as I say, I like, or if it's a space base, because there's just something on their own and something quite scary about it that I think really kind of works for this. Next up is Hell Bent. For some odd reason this gets hate, and I don't actually kind of know why. Heaven Sent is probably the most, and it is for me, it is, look, I don't love it as much as Heaven Sent, I will admit that. Heaven Sent is probably the greatest Doctor episode in terms of writing, directing, acting, everything that's in. But for some odd reason, Hellbent is not particularly well liked. The reason why I like Hellbent is because it kind of showcases why you shouldn't tick off the Doctor and why you should push him too far, because as we see, he will literally go against his whole race. And see when folk come out with like, oh, I can't believe he shot, God, I can't believe he shot like he's the Time Lord, to save like Clara. It's like, Clara is literally like actually, near enough a family member to the Doctor at this point, while the Time Lords literally had him captured for millions, I think even, to be honest, billions of years. Confession Dial, not just that, the Time War, and many things even before that, even in the classic era. There's many reasons why the Doctor's got like very much huge disdain towards the Time Lords, to be honest. And as I says, this is all kind of culmination of pushing the Doctor, and what kind of happens when you do kind of go on his other side. It's ugly, it's scary, and it works well with Capaldi because he kind of fits that kind of, he can do that, like with his acting ability, with his kind of way he can carry himself. I don't think it would work with Tennant. I don't think, like, I love Matt Smith, I don't think it would work with Matt. Maybe work with Eccleston, to be honest, but here it's I think it's a great finale. I think Gallifrey looks great. I think the actual Time Lords look great. I really like the new Rassilon. I heard that Timothy Dalton was meant to come back, and it's a shame he never did, but I much prefer that costume. That costume is beautiful, and actually they actually have sets compared to the End of Time. We've lost all the budget now and just put a black curtain over it. Oh, I hated that so much. Give Hellbent a chance. People and then the people kind of hate, oh, they just brought back Clara. It's like, I mean, well, yeah, but no matter what, she's still going to die in that point. That's still going to happen. So and then that was confirmed obviously in Capaldi's last episode, where you know they said like, oh, we can bring back messages from your dead, whatever and stuff, and Clara was there, so she is definitely dead. So you know, it doesn't affect me, that sort of stuff, and more Jenna Coleman for me is never a bad thing. And last but not least, I don't really know, who knows, but it's only one from the Chibnall year, because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the biggest fan, but there is an episode where I genuinely believe deserves more love. It should have been the finale of Series 11 as well, and it's the only one that feels like proper sci-fi Doctor Who to me, and that is It Takes You Away. That episode is genuinely spectacular. The whole mirror dimension stuff, I absolutely, I loved everything about that. I think it has a great mystique. I really love the actress, and I forget her name, God, because I do great research when obviously I start these videos. She's great. It's in it. I'm not particularly in love with how the Doctor's written this. I find her a bit too hard on basically everyone in this story. I think that's another thing, how Jodie's written, to be honest. I just like Graham has literally seen his dead wife. The way the Doctor reacts to him, I find quite. I still don't really get why Graham really wants to be in that TARDIS sometimes, because the last scene is literally him just looking off, and the Doctor just kind of goes, right, TARDIS. It's like, why not? Could you not just write one scene of them two maybe talking to each other? You know, that'd be nice. But I'm meant to be liking this story, I'm not. But it also gets shows that I'm not. There's always things I don't particularly love, and even the episodes that I do generally love, and maybe it's just a good example, to be fair, of Penny and the Bad Bunch or something. I don't know, but I do generally love the storytelling in this story. It should have been, I think, the finale compared to what the hell Series 11's finale was. I still don't particularly know. The Battle of Vajaj, like, I could get really Scottish here. I don't really understand why that was a finale. I don't know what. I know Mark Harry was in it, and that's as far as I remember. But It Takes You Away is a really good. It feels like Doctor Who feels like proper sci-fi, and you know, I know a lot of people don't particularly have went kind of against now of Chibnall's era, but that's a story I generally believe is overall pretty solid. So I hope you enjoyed this video of my most underrated Doctor Who episodes. I'm hoping this will be like a two-parter thing, because I'm hoping to do a most overrated, which will be, I'm sure, a lot of fun. So this hopefully will be a kind of two-parter. So I'd like to know what you guys think. Comment down below. Please like, share, and subscribe, because I need to remember to say those things. Hopefully more videos in the future. Hopefully this, as I said, this two-parter coming out. So until then, see you later.